Ooh, I have a treat for you on today's podcast. If you want to know what a really solid social media plan would be for your store and the 7 product categories that you should be carrying in your store, then you're going to love today's episode. I am joined by Ari Lowenstein, and Ari's been on the show before. He is a very successful retailer in the Dallas, Texas area. And Ari is so rooted in retail and has so much information to help retailers be really successful. And he's built a really successful store in just a couple of years and has opened a couple of locations. And he does it because of the knowledge he has. And I asked him to come speak to our IndERA Pro members on our Retail Pro call and teach them, like go deeper with them, really help them be more successful. And Ari shared the 7 categories that every retailer should sell. And these are not categories like plush, apparel, gift. These are categories that you need to be having within your merchandise that you then need to be talking about on social media. And that's where it becomes your social media plan. We often feel so stuck on what to be posting. These types of content pieces are going to get people to come in and buy. It's going to give you clarity. It's going to save you time, and it's going to make sure that you're checking all the boxes with these 7 product categories. My favorites were Daily Dose and Unexpected Treasures, and you'll hear why they're my favorites in today's podcast. Now, this is such a special treat. We are giving this to you as a podcast listener. This is normally only available for our IndERA Pro members, but I wanted you to have a little sneak peek at these Q&A coaching calls that we do for our members. We do these bi-weekly, twice a month, where you get access to very successful retailers and retail pros to ask your questions, to get presentations, and get deeper training. That alone is worth the price of IndERA membership, but there's so much more as a pro member. So we have a very special offer between now and the end of 2025 where you could save 20% on your IndERA Pro membership for a year. Go to joinindera.com and you can learn all sorts about the pro membership. We'd love to have you on these calls, do your get listed for you. There's so many perks to being a pro member for an entire year. You could save over $500 with the code HOLIDAY. Use it before the end of the year. We would love to see you as a pro member. And I just wanted you to be a fly on the wall on some of these calls because they're gold. You get access to the live version as well as the replays. And there's a lot in the library that can really set you up for success in 2026 and beyond. This one call with Ari is such a good one. So I know you're going to absolutely love it. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, the Wolf of Main Street, and this is Rooted in Retail. Good morning, IndERA Pro members. I'm Crystal Vilkaitis. I am so excited that you are here for October 2025's Retail Pro Call. Today, we are joined with Ari Lowenstein. Ari, welcome to our Pro Call. I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, we're excited to be back. Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be so good. So you might recognize Ari. He was on the podcast episode 204 and 206. And if you have not had the opportunity to listen to those 2 episodes yet, make time to do it while you're driving, while you're walking, while you're in the store, because it was like a masterclass in retail. Before we dive in, I'm seeing a lot of you saying hello in the chat. So just a couple of housekeeping topics, and then we're going to dive right into this content. So if you're live with us, say hello. We love when you engage. If you have questions, feel free to chat them in at any time. Ari has a great presentation he's going to share with us this morning, and then we'll go into some Q&A. So I'm really excited that you're here with us because there's some really important information that you're going to learn from Ari this morning. And we're just really grateful that he's going to share everything that he is. So at any time, you can ask questions in the chat. You can also raise your hand when we go into the Q&A portion and come off of mute and ask your questions too. We love when you are engaging, so definitely engage. And then the replay will be up a little bit later today. If this is your first pro call, in the future, mark your calendar, attend live if you can. You can pre-submit questions to ensure that you're getting coaching and support from the pros we bring on the call. So we send those out early. Be sure to submit your questions. And good morning, everybody. And let's dive in. Ari with Ari's Pantry, also just pioneer in the industry. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Crystal. Very excited to be here. Shout out to Callie for that was on your staff who I worked with in the past, who's just a treasure. I'm glad that she landed with you. Worked with her at Brainwise Market Time, and we became friends. So I'm very excited that she's there with you as well. We're talking at an interesting time for me. If this had been when we talked the last time, I thought that I would be dealing with a lot of different issues than I am right now. But I'll give everyone a quick synopsis, and there's a lot to learn in this. So basically, our flagship store is in the ground floor of the building in downtown Dallas, right next to Neiman Marcus. It opened up in May. These parts are all salient to the story. On October 3rd, I believe, a 3-inch water pipe on the 21st floor of the building failed, and millions of gallons of water flowed down through the building. They did not flow into our store. So our store didn't have any physical damage, but services, power, water, and the cooling, in connection to the cooling towers, which our coolers are connected to, were all interrupted. The building is owned by Brookfield, which are operated by Brookfield. They own the building. They own the company that owns it. And Brookfield is one of the second largest landlord in the country to Blackstone. They run a lot of shopping malls. You might recognize the name from that. This is not a session where I will complain about Brookfield. I will say that I wish that their communication was a little better. I don't think that they went up there and smashed the pipe intentionally. The part I want to tell everyone about is actually business interruption, whatever it's called, insurance, which everyone should have. The part that I learned, which I do have the insurance, is that most policies do not cover hourly employees. They consider that to be a resource that you can just turn off. Well, if your store is not open, then you don't have to pay your electric bill, right? They kind of look at it like that. So the most vulnerable amongst us, the hourly employees, are not covered. The supplement for hourly employees was not a lot. I'm disappointed with my insurance agent that she didn't say, would you like to also insure them? What that means is that when the insurance payment comes through, it's not going to cover the cost of you having carried your hourly employees during the time that you were closed. So I unfortunately had to lay off 6 people. We carried them for about 2 weeks, and then not knowing what my reopen date would be, although we're hopefully going to get some information soon, I had to lay them off. I kept them for 2 weeks, working on other things as best I could, but then I couldn't because it was open-ended. And I'm not that I'm merciless or greedy or anything like that. That's very generous. I just, not knowing how long it would be, it was open-ended, and that's not something that you can navigate. So we had to make that decision. Now, on a business side, it's also problematic because when I go to reopen, I have to train first. I can't just open a gourmet store with 3,000 products in it, and think that my employees are going to know it. So that means I have at least a 10 or 12 day ramp up in order to open that store up again. Anyway, if I'd had the insurance that covered the hourly employees, I could have just kept them on. And it's not about charity; it's just about continuity for my business. So my business was disrupted once. Now it's going to be disrupted again because I have to hire new people, and their lives were disrupted. So it's a small piece in terms of coaching for retail. I never would have imagined. I salaried employees in my policy. Now your policy might be different, but I work with Hartford is my insurer, so it's not it's an important company. And my salaried employees were covered. My management team was covered, but not the hourly employees, which I just found strange. I found strange that I wasn't asked the question. But anyway, this was the biggest takeaway. Some of the other things that I'm balancing are how I communicate with my customers who depend on me. And unfortunately, the business that was there before me, for their own issues, had some spottiness in terms of being open. So I'm dealing a little bit with that legacy of, they're just like so-and-so. And we had tried to open, and then ran down there, we got everything delivered, and then, no water, right? So they said, you can open. So there's this fits and starts. And so we also seemed, fickle and a little unreliable. So in the end, we decided to just not open until we knew that everything would work 100%, which is it's a difficult decision, right? If you're partially blocked, we have scaffolding right now that's covering in front of the building. So even when we tried to open, our sales were 30% of what they should have been because nobody could see us. So there's that question. And then for me, all the perishable items that I restock, if I don't restock, the store was empty. Like there's a lot of these things to balance out. What I will say is that with the insurance companies, if you talk with your agent before you talk with the company, if you are disrupted, there's kind of like, well, how much were you disrupted? Closed is an easier thing for insurance company to understand than open and doing less work. I don't want insurance money. I don't want to sue anybody. I just want to do my job. I want to do business. But right. those kind of considerations. Make sure that you talk with your agent and make that intelligent decision of, well, we could be open and we could do this, and that sounds like a good idea, but the insurance company might look at it and say, well, maybe that's all you would have done anyway, and now you got to you got to prove this kind of relative situation, which isn't any good. So talk with people about it, but those are really important considerations.
Yeah. And we wanted, so this is like I said to Ari right before we started filming here, I was like, unfortunately, it totally sucks you have to go through this. And then I'm grateful that we can have this information for our members, because insurance policies are like the least sexiest part of running a business. And it's one of those things that we're like, oh my gosh, this is so boring. And I know I need to have it. And if you do not have a good agent who's really working with you on helping you understand everything that's covered in the policy. And I also think that we don't think the worst thing that's going to could happen. And this isn't necessarily the worst thing, but it's pretty bad. It sucks.
Yeah.
And Gwen made a comment. I so thought of you, Gwen, because she had a fire in a neighboring business that impacted her business due to smoke damage. They had to be closed for several months, all summer. She said, this is so relatable for me. And so, we never wish that on anybody, but if you have a physical storefront, this could happen to you.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to just really start this by saying, make sure you check your policy. Your hourly employees might not be covered. This just totally sucks of what you have to go through and letting them go. Yeah, I feel like you're gonna.
And having a plan is, I hadn't planned for this, right? So there's that. So what to do. Like, we all went through COVID, right? So we know what it feels like to have to do something different. But the last time I had to lay off 6 people, I had stores in airports before 9/11. Again, something out of my hand. They were in the airports. There's nothing we could do. We lost 90% of our sales. It was horrible. But having a plan, even for an interruption for one day, what does that mean? What is your communication plan to your customers? What's the sign that goes up on the door? What does that say in terms of, we're still here, we're not going away, we don't want you to write us off? There are a lot of considerations on that. And I think after I get out of the end of this, I might put something together, Crystal, to share, to say, here are the different areas that we looked at. Communication marketing is obviously a part of it, because that customer that you got, we had our best 3 breakfast days. We finally were beating out Starbucks. Ooh, our best 3 days, September 30th, October 1, October 2nd, since we opened. Our best 3 breakfast days. And where someone gets their coffee, that's changing behavior, right? Now, in a gift store, you have that as well. I mean, if you think about behavior, like in coffee, that's absolutely behavior. And we finally got some people to change. And then those have fled. So anyway, just having a plan. So I don't want to dominate the session with this, but I'll put something together once on the other side of this to see what it means. Our intention is to come out stronger. We've been taking advantage of this time to work on a lot of those bucket list things that we wanted to do for our store that we kind of couldn't do because the world hadn't stopped, and we are doing those. So that's exciting. But we'll save that for follow-up. We do have 2 other stores, which we've also been bulking up. And we've been pushing harder on our catering, and we have another store opening in January. So it's not like we don't have enough to do. Our biggest single source of revenue did stop. And so that's been difficult. But let's turn to something more, it's a little more fun.
Well, and Ari, before we dive in, I just want to make sure too that that you first I want to just read these quick chats. Andrea can relate because on October 11th, someone drove into her building. Luckily, we could board up, clean up, and then they're fixing everything. And then Gwen said cleanup cost way more than you would ever believe. And so I just love the preparedness, just having policies in place, because if God forbid, if something like that happened to you, you could turn to this and it alleviates so much of that stress and you can jump into action really quick. So transitioning now, Ari, for anybody who didn't listen to your podcast, quick intro of when you started your stores. I know you have 3 store locations.
Sure. So very quick intro. I've been in the gift industry for 25 years, something like that. Started in Europe, in the US. I was involved in strategy. A lot of the software, a lot of VUs I've been involved in. Anyway, I said yes a lot. So I'm big into the industry. At a certain point, about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, my wife said, "What do you want to do now?" I said, "I want to cook." I lived in Italy for 10 years and I love food. I'm passionate about it. So we catering, and I opened Ari's Pantry. There, if you know Italy, the store, it's kind of like a really, 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 really small Italy. So they're Italian markets. And then we also have we have fantastic sandwiches, coffee. We make everything ourselves. The bread, the porchetta, the turkey. But the store's filled with housewares, fun stuff, a lot of brands that you all carry. Unemployed Philosophers Guild, Fred, Kickerland. So we have all the fun, Blue Q. We have that, and then we have great, standard housewares, and then all different kinds of olive oils, and pastas and sauces. We have recipe cards for people to walk in and pick up one of my recipes. They walk through the store, get the ingredients. We do gift boxes. It's a pretty dynamic store. It's a lot of fun. If you come to Dallas, you should definitely go to one.
Amazing. Yes, I'm like, if we ever do a members meetup in Dallas, it should be at your store.
I'll cater it. I will cater it, and it'll be fantastic. So what I want to talk about today. Now, I had some pieces of this are things that I picked up. I'm 54 now, so I can't remember exactly where, but I've adapted it through the years, and I feel like some of it had some embryonic start from an article or something I read, but it was a long time ago. So if you do recognize some pieces of this, it did start somewhere, although not really in the form that we have it. So when people talk about categories of retail, traditionally the gift industry, some might say, well, we have apparel, and we have kids, and we have men's gifts, and we have that. And that's great. We have plush, we have stationery, we have, and those are certainly ways to look at categories. This is a completely different way to look at categories of retail. This is about what gets people into your store, and most critically, what gets them to stay. So there are direct correlations between how long someone spends at a store and how much money they buy. Now, granted, there's certainly people who have nothing to do, who are hanging out for an hour, buy nothing, and walk out. We've all seen them. There's also people who walk in because they know what they want, or they're in a rush. They buy something super expensive. They say, I'll take it. In 5 minutes, you're like, that was an easy sell, right? But in general, the more time someone spends in your store, the more they're going to buy. So these are categories that are more emotive, that are more about the feeling that they generate for someone, about your store, about themselves, about the community that you've created in the store. And that it's a whole other way to classify what's in your store. It's not by price point. It's not by necessarily who the gift is for. It's much more about what the consumer is feeling when they go in there. So these are my 7 non-traditional categories of retail, according to me. Okay, so like you said, this is so why it matters is that more time in the store equals more sales, and we want them to have that. What you want to be doing is, well, if it didn't get this, I got this. If it didn't hit them with this, I hit that. It's almost like having, I don't want to say 7 different businesses running in your store, but 7 different messages running in your store. So here's the list. The staples, that's the foundation of trust between you and your customer. The daily dose, which is about something that they might come back for. Now, in my case, now a lot of this is food, but when I first introduced this, when I first was talking about this, I talked about it at frequent conferences. This goes for bookstores, this goes for coffee shops, this goes for anybody. These are all different reasons why someone's going to come into your store. So the daily dose is about the everyday indulgence. Good neighbor is how the actual products themselves make you feel because of where they come from. The lab is about experimenting and having always something new. That's a common thing we know about in the industry. The lack of luxury is about that. Oh, I'm going to look at that 5 times and then I'm going to buy it, right? Or oh, it's really rare. But that's that special thing, that aspirational gift, perhaps. The unexpected treasure is we're going to talk about that. That's about keeping them not knowing what it is necessarily you're going to have in your store, meaning the surprise. Like, I don't know what I'm going to find. Each time I go in there, I see something new, and maybe it's unexpected. Maybe it's a beautiful package of fudge that's in a lady's apparel store, right? Like, oh, I didn't expect to see this. Something in my mind says there's adventure in that store, and I need to go there. And then the last one is the funny bone, and that's a very simple thing. When you hear somebody laugh, we talk about that, but it's really important to have that warmth and funny in the store. It doesn't have to be naughty humor. It doesn't have to be. It can just be something that's warm. So we can go into these more in detail. But Crystal, quick question: have you ever seen anybody break it down? Are other people looking at things this way?
I mean, I feel like that we talk about some of these things individually, but I have not heard it collected like this. Okay. So I'm really excited for this presentation, and I know that our members are too. So this is awesome.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So the staples are the core things in your store. If you are a florist, you carry flowers. If you are a toy store, you carry toys. These are the things that they know they're going to find when they come to your store that obviously you have to have. It's kind of goes without saying, but what it does is as you're looking at products in your store, which by the way, products can fall into multiple categories. It's not that it only falls in one. But when I've done this in the past with retailers, I actually had a worksheet and I said, okay, take the products in your store or the lines and start filling out what you have. And when you're missing something, when you see that something is missing, say, okay, what can I do? Because I believe that that's a missing element. If, by the way, any of the listeners or your retailers have an idea for an 8th or 9th category, I'm all for it. If the 7 is not a magic number, and there might be some other categories that are a great new way to look at. But again, it's not about physically what the product is. Mm-hmm. It's about what it does. So these are the products that they know they're going to find. If you're a bookstore, you have books, et cetera, that they know are going to be there.
Awesome.
So this is the daily dose. Now, the daily dose is interesting because the daily dose is what gets people to come back into the store more often than they might think. So back in the day when the little lapel pins were all the rage, right? It was a $4 purchase, a $5 purchase. That was the kind of thing that might get somebody to come back into the store to say, I need a new one. Right. Mm-hmm. For me, with a food store, okay, it's coffee, right? It's their favorite coffee and so on. But it might be the incense that they like. It might be a staff pick to see, what does Bill think that the best book is? It might be anything that gets somebody to come back, maybe not every day, but regularly, because this is something that they've incorporated into their life. Maybe it's their favorite soap. Like a bar of soap is a fantastic example. Once somebody, I can tell you, I've used the same soap for, I don't know how many years now. And it's actually a certain company that I get them from. And there's 2 or 3 different, they're natural and so on. I really like them. And I buy them from that. That's my soap. And that's something very familiar for me. Every single day I use the same soap. And so the supermarkets count on this, right? Because if you use Tide laundry detergent, you're not going to go for something else. You want Tide laundry detergent. So what is it that you can do in your store? And it might be a staff pick. It might be a quote of the day. It might be something, but something that gets people to come back in because you've become part of their either daily or weekly rhythm and you want them coming in. And obviously, the more they come into the store, the better. So whatever you can do to have that kind of daily dose, it's usually something that's in a lower price bracket. It's not going to be something that's super expensive. Consumables are fantastic for this. Soap, incense, candy, some other kind of food item, something that they really like that they're going to come back for. And this is also an item where the point of it is to bring it into the store. You can make a margin on it, but this is the one that you really want them to be coming in regularly for because it brings them to the store.
Yeah, I love this, that make up the rhythm of daily life. And so I feel like such a great exercise is to really step into the shoes of your perfect customer, which we talk about this, and like, what is their day in the life of your customer? And let's say I was your customer. When you say candles, I have a candle on my desk that I always burn. I have a candle when I'm up in the morning. I journal every morning. I go through pens so fast. Pens could be an option. Really cool journals that have good prompts would be, if I was your perfect customer, like that's something that's a part of my daily life. So really go through that daily life, a day in the life of the customer to find those makeup of the rhythm of daily life. I love it.
Okay. So these are products that when you look at them, when you read about them, when you touch them, you feel good about it as a consumer. Now that can be, some of the obvious ones are organic, fair trade, or locally made, right? Which is great. But it also can be quality manufacturing. It could be an ethical manufacturing. It can be an authentic piece. It can be what it's made of, who's making it, how it's made. Those kind of products. Now, the whole store doesn't have to be all of them. And if you can have a whole store that's all organic and fair trade, that's fantastic. For me, what it's about is this also says who you are as a retailer. Right? These things are important to me. I have found quality products that also have these other elements. It also could be that they're connected to a cause, like Chavez for Charity. I don't know if they're still, around, but that kind of, those products, they're there also. But this is a good feeling for someone when they're in the store, and different things appeal to different people. It might be the country of origin that it's made in. It might be how it's done. My hero, the women that they work with to do the, to actually weave the bracelets. Like, all of that is a great story. It could also be the quality of how it's made. This comes with a 10-year warranty. Well, I feel good about that. That's going to stay, it's going to stay longer. This is inspired from some historic something. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go, but it's the products in your store. And here's the other piece. If you buy these products, but it is not obvious that they should be in that category, then your signage is inadequate, or the packaging is inadequate, or the messaging from your team is inadequate. Because if a tree falls in the forest, it doesn't make a sound, right? So if nobody's around, right? So, but this, you can see how this, now I feel sometimes if the whole store, if this is the single message, and it's great if it is, but sometimes I feel that can be a little bit overwhelming for the consumer. And what we want them to be doing is it's not, I don't know what the percentage should be, but there should be some things that kind of stand alone. Let's say, without necessarily that shout out, you can still have it be maybe behind the curtain, on the bottom. But we also don't want to overwhelm the consumer with too many messages, because now I'm tired. Now I want to go somewhere else and sit down.
True.
But this is a great category.
Yeah, it is. And it makes me think, I was in a really cool, like, crystal woo-woo store in Iowa, and that can be overwhelming if you don't know all the different rocks, but they have little pieces of paper that tell you, but they had really good signage of these rings. There were only like 6 of them that came from a meteor from Argentina. And it was just like a really cool story. And I had to have one of those rings. I was like, this is amazing. If I just saw those rings, I'd be like, oh, that looks cool. I never would have bought it. Yeah. So signage. And then Gwen, you read my mind in the comments. She said, these are the perfect items to talk about on social too. I almost feel like we could go through, because this storytelling is just crushing on social. So this, and like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a cause. It could be something that's so authentic, something that's so different. So tell those stories on social. And then, for the previous one, the day in the life of the customer, like, I think that's a great way from a social perspective to get your customers to make some content using some of the things you sell, a day in the life. And then they're showcasing the ring they're wearing, the pen they're using, the journal. And then you can be like, all sold at our store, like, such great content.
I come in every day for this, I go through one of these pens every 2 weeks. They're great. I write. Or I go through one of these pencils or this journal, or you're right. In all of these, social media has given us something that we didn't have before, which is a way to project this out into the world, right? So these 7 categories, you could almost look at them also as 7 categories of posts. Are we talking about our feel good, about our good neighbor products? Are we talking about our daily dose, which is a reason to come in every day? Are we talking about our staples? Are we talking about those that come afterwards? And I think I hadn't thought of that, but obviously you did, Crystal, because that's your talent. You brought to all of us in the world. These are a fantastic way also to categorize your posts, because what you don't want to be is too repetitive, right?
Exactly.
That's the thing. So if you also approach this with how you're going to talk about it, that's already going to change the nature of your post, because now you're talking about a good, these are good neighbor products. Now you're talking about these are daily dose products. Now you're talking about these are staple products. And that could be a great way just to keep it varied.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also now have your social media plan through this presentation of what you're going to be posting, which I love.
And it's all content that's in the store.
All content. Everything's content. Yeah. Are you looking to be the retailer that everyone knows and loves? If you are, we can help support you inside of the Independent Retailers Association. We have a lot of different tools that can help you grow your visibility, connect deeper with your customers to really create lifetime relationships. We've got training on marketing and social media kits to make social media so easy for you every single month. Plus, we have an amazing community inside that you can ask questions and get advice and share your wins. I'm in there, my team's in there, and all of our other hundreds of retail members. And at the pro level, you can tune in every other week to our Retail Pro strategy calls, where you get access to incredible pros in the retail space who are experts in all aspects, from merchandising to sales to texting to becoming a destination to hearing from fellow retailers who are knocking it out of the park with their events. We have so much great content inside of the Independent Retailers Association, which we call IndERA. So we have a couple of different levels that you can join, starting at just $25 a month. I would love to see you inside. This is a way for us to connect, go deeper, and really help grow your business so you can become the store that everybody knows and loves. We'd love to see you there. You can go to joinindera.com to learn more. That's joinindera.com. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Okay, so the lab. So this is about something. Someone comes in, a lot of stores will have some kind of, here's what's new, right? Here's what's out. Here's our beautiful display. This can include it's special because it's on sale. This can be included special because you can only get it for a short period of time, which includes seasonal. This is special because we just got it. This is special because we just got it back in, right? Because something that was really popular. But this is an area that you're bringing attention that says, look at this now. Here's what's new in the store. Here's what's here only for a short period of time. Here's what's on sale. But it's something that says, there's going to be something new when I go into the store each time that I go there, and I'm going to highlight that. And what I would say, this is also, if you know you have 10 new products that you're going to put out in October, depending on what your traffic flow is, it might not be the best idea to put them all out on October 1st. You may, depending on how often people come in. If you're a once a month store, put them all out. If you're a once a week store, then pace it out, because you really want people to see it new, or just move it around, because just change the order which they're in, because not everybody looks at everything when they walk through your store. People will, I've had customers since over the first store, they'll pick something up and say, is this new? And I'll say, to you. but that recipe hasn't changed for 200 years. So no, it's not new. That's what that is. So this is and this is obviously great for social media content. If you're in a walking area, there's that new table. Bookstores have always done this. New arrivals are always right out front. Apparel stores will put their seasonal in the window, which is there. But if you're a store, on the other hand, that doesn't necessarily you have kind of a tighter category base, then I think there's ways to mix that up. And if nothing else, just put something out in front that you feel needs more attention, because that already will bring more attention to it.
Yep. Awesome.
So this is the example that I remember for this is there's a guy, Andrea Answini, and his family, and this is in Rome when I lived there, his family had been jewelers to the Vatican forever. And, the rings that the cardinals wore, and, so we did some work for museums together. He's a really good guy. Always kind of had a twinkle in his eye, a little mischievous, he's a great big guy. But then when you actually caught his glaze, I was like, I don't know, Gaze, I don't know what's going to happen right now. Anyway, so I went in his store, and they would work with silver and gold. They had one of these huge cornucopia, the horn, like that you might see on a buffet, but it was this massive silver thing. And I looked at it and I said, is that silver? And he said, yes. I said, oh my God. So what does that cost? It was a fortune. 20,000, something big. And I said, how many of those do you sell? And he said, 0. I said, what do you mean? He said, my grandfather made that. But we put smaller versions and smaller things next to it. So that's the one that when people would go in and then just admire that and then buy this one. So some of this is about bringing people in to admire the 700 series BMW. They're going to buy the 3, right? But it's there. So some of it is about aspiration. It also extends the upper end of what your store does. It doesn't have to be price, right? It's not just by price. Often is, but it's about saying this is where we get to here. And people like shopping in stores where they don't necessarily, where they feel like there's space for them to move up should they decide to dive in and do that thing, but they see it and it's there. Then there's also just the hype. So for me in our store, obviously there's some examples in our Italian store. That's our top shelf wines, the chocolates, Parmigiano Reggiano, 36 months and other, these that are there. Those are all things that people do buy every day, but it says, this is what we cover as a store. Yes, we sell $2 cookies, right? But we also sell, this Amarone, beautiful bottle of wine for, actually a very fair price of like $75. But it's having that piece that it sets kind of where you are as a store, kind of what your top end is. It's not out of reach because look, there's always 90% of the store is easily within reach, and it also says to a certain customer, you can come and shop here and get really great products, which is important. But that's the lap of luxury.
I love this. It makes me think of a couple of things. So a couple weeks ago, we took a group of 30 to Disney World and had like an immersive experience at Disney World. And when we were in Magic Kingdom at one of the gift shops, they had $185,000 castle. $185,000, in the glass display, just millions of diamonds, just so beautiful, sure. Right? But like, that is an example of this where it's the shock, it's the awe, it's the social content. People take pictures of that. They may see it online and then they want to go in and see it in person. So it drives the foot traffic. It creates virality online and that conversation. Like, it can do so much for you. And then Disney does sell some of these. Like, they then go in and custom make them. That's obviously for a very special clientele. But like, majority of people are just, they're oohing and awing. And then, you have smaller ones that you can buy, right? It's sort of that price justification that comes in. I don't have that much, but I love that. And I can buy something else.
And it was that 138,000 you said?
185,000.
185,000. Well, then I guess the $200 one is reasonable.
Exactly, right? Like, oh my gosh, I will definitely take the 200. And then all of a sudden your average cost per sale. I mean, like, it just is, price justification works really well. And then also this example made me think about in New York City, how Louis Vuitton turned a building on Fifth Ave into a giant, suitcase. Like, it was just totally their brand and whatever that must have cost. And you couldn't buy anything. It's not an actual store, but it was just that big, like, whoa, it was a statement. These are like statement pieces, that really, and there's how many? I mean, hundreds of thousands of pictures of that on social media. It's all free publicity, free, they spent the money on the building. But, I think this is an area where our members can really have some fun and brainstorm and have that standout element, where you are really different. I can't find that at any other store. Like, that is so cool. I love this.
And that could be, first edition of a book. If in a bookstore, it could be a signed book, which bookstores are excellent at this, of this piece. But whatever it is that you do, you can find something that is that next step up, which is it adds value. It's fun. We had a 4-foot bronze statue in one of our airport stores in Rome. It weighed like 90 pounds. And it was in the store to sell the little ones next to it. There are these bronze FFB statues, but it was bronze. It was incredible. It had a stone base like this that probably weighed another, 40 pounds. We get this panic call one day from one of the shoppers. A Japanese couple just bought this. I said, what do you mean? He said, they bought it. It's $2,000. They bought it. They want to take it on the plane. And the people won't let them take it on the plane. We hadn't thought about what, like, because you're out in the terminal. Like, that's it. You're getting on your plane to Tokyo. They bought it because it's incredible. And it was an amazing piece. They want to take it on the plane, and the people won't let them take it on the plane. What do we do? I don't remember how it got resolved, but it was really difficult because, no, they did take it on the plane because they remember the story that said that the man was carrying the statue like this, and the wife was walking behind carrying this block of stone, getting on the plane. It was out of the store. It was no longer ours, but we actually sold, we sold the thing. Hey,
yeah, you might just sell it. It's so funny. Ginny says, oh my God, they were probably sitting next to me. Did that happen to you, Ginny? That's so funny. Oh my gosh. We need more info on that one, Jen. You have to type it and tell us or tell us during our Q&A. And speaking of Q&A too, get your questions ready because we're about to go into those here pretty soon. Okay, tell us about number 6.
Now, this is one of my favorites. As a person, I am disruptive. It's, I am disruptive. I will always, I think I got it from my dad. I'm always looking at a different way to it's just what happens. So I love the disruption, that finding something someone would not expect to find in your store, something that you like, right? Something that you think your customer, if they like these things in your customer, might have nothing to do with your store. And the examples are many, but and this is where someone would come into the store and say, wait, what? Well, I think you as my customer might want a really nice calendar, but you're a clothing apparel store. I know, but look at this beautiful calendar, right? It's not about diluting what you're doing. It's about keeping them surprised at what you find. And it doesn't have to be. So here's a great example. In our stores, we're an Italian market. We carry Kewpie mayonnaise, which Exceed asked me to carry, and she was totally right. Handles our marketing, our social media. And it's this fantastic mayonnaise. I think it's Korean or like Japanese. In any event, it's all the rage right now. So we have it in our Italian market. And we have Mike's Hot Honey. Another thing you wouldn't expect to find. But people look at it and they go, oh, now what does that say about our store? Wait, this isn't just Italian, this is gourmet, right? This is fun, and this is today, and it's not stuck in time or stuck in another country. So for your store, whatever your business is, that thing that's going to make someone surprised, that gets them to think it's different about the what's new, because the what's new is part of your regular business, right? That's part of your regular product line, just things that you're adding to extend it. This is really about something that they did not expect to see, and that they're going to talk about afterwards. Hey, where did you get that? You're not going to believe it. I got it over here. And it does something in their minds to think, I really don't know what I'm going to find. That this is a dynamic place that is there to entertain me. All the buyers that are watching this, you're all creative. You've all seen things. You said, that's cool, but I don't think those works in our store. Buy and see what happens. I used to sell these little art cubes that I made for museums. One of my best customers in North Carolina was a woman's boutique. And she was this grande dame with these huge dresses that she'd come in with this thick, beautiful accent. And I'd say, I forget her name, but I'd say, why you're a clothing boutique, right? She said, yeah, high end, all the best ladies, whatever town come to my store. I said, why do you buy these? She said, oh, it's simple. When the wife comes home with all the bags that she bought, she can say, hey, honey, look what I bought for you.
Yep.
So it was like car ones and fighter plane ones, and it was all these masculine themes. I didn't understand. She said, yeah, I can say, look, sweetheart, look what I got for you. I'm gonna go put away all my shopping. But it worked.
Yep, it does. And this is great too. It's not like you're changing, like majority of your items are totally different. You have a brand, your customer, you've got your through line, but what is one or two things that really stand out? And the surprise and delight, like the customer now we're bombarded by so much information. We're taking in a lot more faster. Like there's just so many more options and there's a lot. So it's harder to kind of get our attention and really linger longer, because this is a big part of your presentation of how am I staying in the store longer. And the surprise element is so a piece of that. This is another area where I think our retailers could have a lot of fun in brainstorming this and bring in one or two things. I love it. And then Jenny just says, no, not them specifically, just seeing everything come onto the plane. And I think, not next to me. And then they stop at my row. Yeah. Oh, go figure, Jenny. All right. Number 7.
Okay. So funny is, when you hear somebody laugh, it releases endorphins, it releases dopamine. When you laugh, when you hear it, this part of the science is true. And it doesn't have to be, there's a lot of humor, there's all different kinds of humor out there. It doesn't have to be, a naughty word on a dish towel. Those are funny, right? People will laugh at that. But there are a lot of things that can be fun or funny. That is important. because it does something else. Example that I used recently is I have a small bite that we make as part of our orders, which is called a tidy, Tidy Giuseppe. And it's our bolognese on some house baked bread with a little Parmigiano on top. And I call it a tidy Giuseppe because it's my take on sloppy Joe. Okay, so Giuseppe. So when I say that to someone, now I'm talking about this. Our bolognese is fantastic. The bread we make by hand, all this, the Parmigiano is super special and all this stuff. But when I say it's our take on a sloppy Joe, there's an immediate smile.
Yep.
I've taken them into a place of their childhood, like in a second. Right? I brought them from listening about the important ingredients that I'm doing and being sincere about what we make to somewhere fun in 2 words. Right? So there are a lot of great products out there that'll do that. And that can be things that are also give you an awe as opposed to a laugh. But something in there that does that, I think is important in a store. I think if a store is too serious, people might be looking for distraction somewhere else. What I'm finding in our stores right now is because everyone's bombarded by so much digitally, that they actually find coming into a store to be a little bit of a break from that, because now their eyes are taking them around the store. So it gives them something to coo about or to laugh about or to, and I think that when you hear someone laugh in a store, it does something to you. It changes what's happening in the store.
It's so true. And that feeling, like, one thing we talk about is it's how you make your customers feel. Service is what you do. Hospitality is how you make people feel. And we feel differently when you change the emotion of your customer in store through product or, the one-liner or naming something like you did and creating something, you change the emotion. It's how you make them feel. I love it so much. All right. That is the 7.
Those 7 categories.
I just want to put the list up again. If anybody wanted to just take a picture of this or write these down, you probably took some good notes. But what we're going to do now for our final time on the call is open it up for some Q&A. We didn't have any pre-submitted. I always have some questions for our guests, but if you are live on the call and if you want to chat something in or raise your hand and ask a question to Ari, he has been in our industry for a very long time, has a lot of great information to help support you. Ari, I will kick things off because we are in Q4 as we're filming this. So I'm curious if you've got a tip or two around selling, either driving traffic in or just selling more, increasing average orders this holiday season.
I think that with what's happening right now in the world, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility. I like surprises that I cause. I don't like surprises that people cause. So what I'll say is that we are doing our best to try to get, and we'll do more messaging out about the gift aspect of what we do. Meaning, this is a place you can come to buy a present. Now, if your store says gift shop, then that might be self-evident. A lot of retailers right now fall into a lot of different categories. So saying to them, so that for us, that's our gift boxes. So that messaging is going to start going out soon, probably right after Halloween. To say, if you have that, we can help you with that gift for that person. We can help you customize it. We can do it for you. Here's what it looks like. Here's some price ranges so that they start thinking about you as a location as they're putting together their plan of who they are buying gifts for. Because that's when there's uncertainty, people who do make sure that they buy presents for everybody are starting to plan it ahead of time. And they're looking at, obviously, sales, and sales are certainly important. I think that there's a lot of strategies in there, and we could probably spend a few sessions on how some of them work, and then some of them, if everybody's offering a special, then nobody is, right? If everybody's offering a sale, that means that that's what's new and expected. I think that's also a slippery slope if you have a unique proposition, because then, that's the real price. So I think that how you do that, I'm a much bigger fan of gift with purchase than I am of discounts. I always have been. I'd rather give them more value than say to them, okay, today I can sell this to you for less money. Mm-hmm. Unless it's something that you can demonstrate you bought a huge pile of. Then it makes sense, right? And so it's just it's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing for wholesalers as well to say this is on sale, this is a special. So for me, gift with purchase is something that I think is especially if it's a unique product, you can only get if you do this. We run a special, buy a bag of pasta and a thing of sauce and get a free 4-ounce piece of cheese to go with it, right? So we don't sell 4-ounce pieces of cheese. We sell 8-ounce pieces of cheese. 8-ounce pieces of cheese is more than you need for one meal for people to eat with. So that makes it feel special. And it's a gift. You just say here. But the thing that we're doing, so for our gift boxes, we're also talking about catering and so on now. But for the gifters, for the listeners, I think the most applicable part is that you're telling them in advance that this is what you're doing to put together gifting solutions for them, and that you're just telling them about it. You're just telling them about it. For the planners, for those customers, I think that's important. And then having continuity of communication as you walk into the store, so they understand they're in the right place.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I read a couple of different studies that were saying that people are shopping earlier and are planning earlier this holiday season. So now is a good time to be talking about it, helping them. And when you mentioned your recipe card that people pick up and go buy ingredients, I was thinking that any type of store could have a recipe card that they go and get the perfect gift for fill in the blank. Who's the person, right?
Yeah.
And what you're talking about too with the free cheese is it's bundling. How are we creatively bundling? And we could put that on the card and we could really help support them.
Putting together that idea for the customer of what they could get for someone, right? We've seen this before. Gifts for mom, gifts for dad. We get the bundle and the thing and putting it together into some kind of a package. My wife's favorite word for a lot of things is done.
Yeah.
Okay. Amy loves done, right? So it's not that she's not discerning, but the favorite thing is when it's done. So here's an idea of gift for mom. Here's an idea of, so I think that's how, and yes, our recipe cards are basically a bundle that people put together to get the things that they need. So it's a great way to do it. And maybe a customer testimonial in there. Here's what I got for my mom. Here's what I got for my kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Gwen said you have to breathe into the world early, which is so true. Andrew says, have to run. Thanks, Andrew. She said lots of inspiration. And then Gwen said you should add a branded pasta spoon. That's fun, Ari.
We have a branded pasta wheel.
Oh, okay. There you go. Love it. Okay. Let me pull up my questions over here. If anybody has a question, you can chat them in. I almost said Mari. Ari, I'm combining multiple with your name, Ari. You have your 3 stores. I know you're going to be opening a 4th, but I think we're a little delayed with what's been going on.
The 4th is January. So that's
January. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And remind me, what year did you open your first store?
December 2023.
So not even 2 years ago, 3 stores. We have almost our 4th, and we talked about this on the podcast. And so I wanted to know, this has sort of been coming up in my world a little bit more often about systems, culture, and ensuring, like with multiple store locations, how are you ensuring that the culture's the same, the brand is the same, that you're really like helping your team and your customers have that experience consistently?
I won't say what has been a challenge. We've been learning as we go along. When I started talking about opening the second store, because in the first store, it was either me or Exene or one other employee most of the time. So they said, how are you going to replicate you? So there's a few ways that we do that. One is the employees. So we have nearly over 300 or somewhere, I think over 300 posts on Instagram. And the employees have a quiz that Exene's put together. We expect them to have watched all of them. And and we're now codifying that with this new wave of hires, that'll be when they go when they pass the test, when they go from the training to the full salary. Because if you know everything that was in that content, you already have a ton that you can talk about in the store. If you think about your social media, it is an online, free, ready to access training guide to your store. And so if they've just seen those and they just know that content, they already have so my quirky little stories. They have me cooking videos. They have me talking about lots of food. They have funny things. They have all this different content in there. So it's basically a virtual training guide. So that's the biggest thing that we're doing to make sure that they know it. I try to be in as many stores as I can, as often as I can, but that's when we get to 10 stores, that'll be impossible. we try to hire nice people, and we don't really tolerate not nice. And when we see a little not nice, we talk to them about it. Usually people are not nice because they're defensive or insecure or some other reason why they're being not nice. But we hire nice. And we also do our best to hire people who actually have the food knowledge, who know something about what it is. But if you train people, then you can really expect that they're going to talk with your customers about it. We've also put into practice some of the little kind gestures that I would do just because it's the way I do it. Like, we give free herbs to everybody because it's what I learned in the market and all. We say hello. We love saying hi to dogs and kids. We are friendly. We offer samples. We ask people what their favorite, what they have in the refrigerator, what they might want to be cooking. We engage with them. So that, and then the recipe cards, because the recipe cards are kind of manifestation of my advice of what should you make for dinner tonight.
Right. So good. Okay. Gwen said that's incredible. I so agree. Having training based off of your social content, I've never heard anybody say that before, but it does so many things because, to your point, especially with your type of product, there is a lot of education that goes along with it. And you're educating your customer and you're doing this brand awareness of what we sell. And so if it's already done, just why repurpose? We're just going to have you watch what we are forward facing with our customers. And so anybody that's listening, if you're educating your customer, I mean, I think a lot of people on this call could replicate that. And it also maybe makes us think of our social posts a little differently. A lot of people they won't make it a priority. They won't post. They get in their head about it. They don't want to, there's a lot of fear around it. You don't want to look bad. Do people care about this? But if you're like, I'm training my customers, which is also training my team to really understand who I am, what I sell, our culture, and that personality, and then they can just be immersed in it, in the content, it's going to help make the content good for the customer, which we talked about on the podcast. You have a very engaged, like you grew fast, and it's a very engaged audience, and they're coming into the store. So this is just really incredible. I love that idea.
It is also the vast majority. Let's assume the people that are coming to work for your store, right? You work at your store, are disproportionately, I want to say young, but younger. The phone is how they consume knowledge. They might not, it might be less comfortable hearing it from you in person than turning around and watching you say it through their phone, right? And so that's how they're consuming it. So that's how we're producing it. It was, Xene's idea. It's that, how do we have them pass it fast? Because there was this question. We were growing quickly. We, even if we bring people into know food, they might not know, the story. You might get things wrong. And we're really, explaining a lot. So it also, for those of you who might, to your point, Crystal, about, worried about creating content, doesn't look perfect. Think about it this way. Imagine if you only had to say it once. Imagine if every time you bring an employee in, you don't have to repeat. I'm just saying for your own preservation, that right. You don't have to repeat the same thing to every single employee. You can just say, look, there's going to be a quiz. Okay. Go back. There's 487 videos. You've got a month to watch them. Watch them all. There's going to be a quiz. We're going to ask 20 questions. You got to get 80% right. That's going to be the bar. The quiz happens on or around Halloween. We told them at the end of October, we're doing the first round of it. It is what I'm already hearing. I'm already hearing them talking to the customers and saying things that I didn't teach them, that they got from watching the video. And it also gets them more vested in the brand. They get to see an evolution. They might say, oh my God, I didn't know the story inside was green. When did you repaint it? Like it's a way for them to learn about your life of your store. And it's free. And you don't have to do it again because you already did it. Right. Show them how to use the POS system. Show them how to take out the garbage and have them watch the videos. And there you go.
Exactly. It's done. Now, I have a question just from so as time goes on and more content is added, do they then need to watch 700 videos, 800? Where do we draw the line?
I don't know. That's a great question. I want to get to 700 videos to find out. Who knows? Maybe we'll say, go back to this date. Or something. It's a very good question because we are quite productive with our posts. That's a good question. We'll have to
Well, you'll
figure out
figure
how
it
to
out.
do that. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It'll be a good problem to have. I don't think it negates it certainly makes it worthwhile. Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah. And Andrea's asking, do you pay for their time watching the shop videos?
Nope. Nope. Because I think what this is, if you look at big corporations, if we take ourselves out of a little store, right? If you are going to work for an accounting firm, you have to have had a CPA, you have to be certified. You studied thousands of hours that your current company, they're paying you for it by your pay.
Right.
This is part of the preparation for the job. If someone had to go and get food handler's license, so if that's their attitude, I think it says a lot about them. I mean, perhaps you create a channel. I don't know how you do that. If it's Instagram or YouTube, and you say, okay, these are the ones I need you to watch. I'm sure, Crystal, you'll actually improve on my idea shortly. And you will say, create a YouTube channel where you put in the specific ones you want them to do, so the content's there. Because then you can take it in and out, as you want to, which is probably a better way to do it.
Right.
But we don't pay them for it. As far as we're concerned, our culinary ambassadors, you have to know the food. So this is part of their job that they need to do. So no, we don't pay them for it. We also say, if you're at the store and there's nothing to do, this is the one time you can be on your phone.
Okay. But watching our content.
And
it makes me think of, this is on such a smaller scale, but like when I first got hired at Chili's, I worked there for 4 years. I took a menu home and I remember sitting on the couch, learning everything. And I'd have my roommate quiz me. Okay, what's in the old timer cheeseburger? Like I then had to say all the ingredients. I had to study. So I was a good waitress. So I knew what I was talking about. And Chili's didn't pay me for that. They expected me to do my job.
Oh, you got better tips as a result.
Oh, for sure.
So in this case, that's why we have the two different pay scales. Is the training pay scale, pass the test and you go up. And in the corporate world, that is so common.
Yeah.
Now you've become a forklift operator. They don't pay you to go take the forklift operator class, right? But now you're a forklift operator. Now you get paid more money.
Exactly.
So it's a better experience for everybody.
It is. Ari, we have 1 minute left here. This hour went by so fast. I just want to thank you so much for bringing a presentation, bringing your experience, your wisdom, sharing what you do at your stores. How can we help support you?
Convince the world that gluten's not your enemy unless you're actually intolerant. If you're intolerant of gluten, you should stay away from gluten. If you are not intolerant of gluten, it is not a health plan to stay away from it. It's not bad for you unless you're intolerant of it. We have plenty of gluten-free product, which is great. But sometimes people will say things like, well, trying to eat clean, so I'm going gluten-free. And I'm like, no, that's not thing. So anyway, if you come to Dallas, come check out our store. If you're interested in our videos, if you're interested in seeing more of me, just go on Instagram, like a couple of things. And I wish everybody a big success this fourth quarter. And next year, after dust is settled, we'll do a conversation about how we went through this disruption.
Yeah.
But Crystal and Callie, thanks so much for having me again.
Yes, thank you for being here. And another shout out to Callie for arranging this. She takes care of all the behind the scenes of these calls and is in the forum and has a lot of retail experience too. So tap into Callie. We've got you. Ari, thank you. Was not expecting that to be your answer, and I love it. And the gluten education, we got to do it. Thanks everybody for being here with us. And we're rooting for you. Let's have a great Q4. Ari, I hope things go very smoothly. I hope the worst is behind you. And thank you for being here. All right, we'll talk soon. Okay, bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Rooted in Retail podcast. It means the world to me to have you here. If you find value in this show and you listen on an iPhone, if you could leave a review on the Apple Podcast app, that would be amazing. And if you watch YouTube, if you're a YouTube subscriber, we film this. And so if you rather watch the show, you can also do that over on YouTube. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.